Welcome back. This is Talk of the Town. This is the second segment of a series from the Lions Foundation talking about the land use map in the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. We're going to continue on from where we left off last time. What do you think is a realistic future of that camp? What's the realistic future of that business? Does it stay there forever? Does it evolve? What do you think would be the best way for it to proceed?
Okay, the best way I can answer that is now I'm going to change hats. I'm going to talk as a parent of a disabled son who attended the camp since he's 8 years old. He's 16 now. When you're the parent of a disabled child or adult, they are 100% dependent on you 24/7. It's critically important to continue the dream and the purpose of a camp that serves disabled kids in a forest or camping environment in the woods. And because of the encroachment of commercial development from the Show Low side, and as Pinetop will grow, as the city of Pinetop grows, that the camp is going to lose its allure, being surrounded by big box stores and homes and so on, and traffic on the highway. It's not going to be the peaceful quiet as we all knew growing up. So probably the best thing is to find another ideal place in the woods, somewhere within the Sky Islands of the forest of Arizona, that is where similar in a way to where the camp started, a place in the woods that's out of the way. And the best use of this land is probably to preserve a lot of the things and tell the story, but it probably is not to continue as the camp. It's almost unrealistic to think that the camp could continue to serve. But the concept of running a business to help disabled kids in the forest is easy to do somewhere else. And where it is now has evolved in the area, as I've just explained. So,
and from what you described to me before, you wouldn't have to go out and buy land, because you could literally go to the Forest Service and get the same sort of. And was there its special use it's not a lease, it's not a payment, it's just they let you use it for this purpose. Is that correct?
Right. The federal government obviously is highly regulated and restricted, and they want to make sure that their forests are protected. A lot of people love the forest to remain the way it is. So if you're going to do any development in the forest, it's got to be a special use, and that's why they sign a contract that it must be occupied 100% of the time.
Okay.
Any development has to be improved by the government, and as long as you're using it for kids like this in a special camp, there are other areas within the Forest Service and different forests within Arizona where you could find a similar footprint and grow a brand new camp with new codes to serve the needs of this population. That's my thought, and that's what our thought was from the beginning. And if we don't take the opportunity to obtain this land to give the camp more life, and think about it, since this came to us by the Forest Service, it's now been over 20 years,
right?
Nearly 25 years that we have locked up the Forest Service and continued this process until we succeeded in October of 2018.
Okay. Well, if the camp moves, so if you move the camp, then what use is the land to the Lions Foundation?
Well, that's a good point. Probably the best is to hold the property, because it's going to continue to grow in value, and use it perhaps as a land lease so it can generate revenue, and that revenue will be used to build the new camp and improve the new camp wherever it ends up being. Plus, it'll generate revenue for the Lions of Arizona, because fundraising is never going to get any easier. So rather than holding the land or thinking of selling the land, that makes no sense. What makes sense is find a new place where we can open a new, improved, and better camp similar to this one, and then hold this land as it's developed around us, be good partners, help the community of Pinetop-Lakeside. That's important to us because we've invested a lot of our life, our time, and our dollars into the community. Yeah, Paul, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Paul Randall. My actual title, quote unquote, is I'm the treasurer of LFA.
Okay.
But I was the primary head of the entire exchange for 25 years. So, yes, I worked with the Forest Service right from the very beginning back in 1997 all the way up until we completed. And what Sandy said, I can't disagree with. I think the timing on when and if the camp moves is one of those things we just have to take a long, hard look at.
Right.
Because it's been well entrenched. It does a marvelous job in Pinetop and Cholla or in Lakeside. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it may be the right time to move. Who knows? But obviously that's a major transaction as far as moving the camp and finding some other place to do it, and whether we sell or lease the land and things like this. Those are things that we would be looking at over literally the next 5 or 10 or 15 years, depending upon how things develop within the town.
So, since you dealt with the Forest Service during the land exchange, did the Forest Service place any sort of expectation or dictate anything that said that the land had to be used a certain way, or was only going to be allowed to use in a certain way, or had to have a certain level of density? Are you aware of any of that?
Now, let me ask you, when you use the term the land, are we talking about the land that Camp Tatiyee sits on, or are we talking about the entire exchange land, which was 344 acres?
Well, I mean, the entire exchange land, maybe minus the rim trail. But I would say, obviously, the electrical and the water, those have to be maintained as far as those.
All right, that's fine. No, the only thing they required is, yes, we had to work within the easements. So obviously electrical and water was a point of it. We also had to agree to allow Camp Grace to acquire their land, which we did. They acquired the land a year after the exchange was completed. They also, in effect, said that we had to allow Camp Tatiyee to exist on their land, although we're both Lions. But that was because they did have use permits for both of them. They wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to either acquire or to continue staying on the land.
Okay.
But the rest of the remainder of the land, which would add up to probably 280 acres, there was no restrictions put on from the Forest Service whatsoever, other than the fact it was going to be eventually, and has been, absorbed into the town of Pinetop-Lakeside, so it'd have to follow whatever zoning requirements that the town had, but the Forest Service didn't put any restrictions on.
Okay, and didn't tell the town or that they were going to have to be at low density or whatever, anything like that? Okay.
No. In fact, that's specifically where the Forest Service wanted to get out of it, because, to be honest with you, the 344 acres, if you looked at it on a map of the Forest Service, it was truly an island surrounded by no forest.
Right.
So they just wanted to, in the best way, get rid of it, make it part of the town, and let the town decide any form of density or what kind of zoning they wanted to put on.
Now I want to move into sort of what's going on today, and that's the land use map that was approved and now has a referendum against it, keeping it from going into effect. And get your viewpoint from that. And it's said that this area is going to be planned development. And the people who are against it are like, no, it needs to be low density. It can't be planned development, which isn't zoning. It's just the designation of it's going to get developed. How do you feel about that?
I believe that it should be planned zoning. Low density was what it was. It was originally zoned for low density residential way back when Pinetop-Lakeside annexed the land, even though they didn't own it, even though it was part of the forest. They wanted to make sure that if the forest ever did exchange or sell the land off, that it would become part of the town. And as part of the town had a right to try to regulate and control the development of it. But to say that it was originally low-density residential, all land that is associated that is not zoned or is not part of the town but has been annexed by the town is by definition zoned low residential. They have to zone it something, so that's the way they start with. Then when it comes into the town, which it has, then I believe it's up to the town to decide how do they want to see 344 acres zoned. And that's a whole lot of land for a town the size of Pinetop-Lakeside. They've never annexed anything like that. And now they have it, and they have a chance to start from scratch and to make it what they'd like to do. And to say that it all has to be low density residential makes no sense to me at all. It's not my job to tell the town what they have to do. And everybody, they want to keep it as though it's the forest. And the answer is it isn't the forest anymore. It doesn't belong to the Forest Service, and it shouldn't be just open forest. There's open forests all over everywhere. This is now part of the town. It becomes part of your tax base. Right. So there's my answer.
Okay. And Sandy?
Well, if you talk to people that have developed in and around Pinetop or even Show Low, it would be a lucrative use to just build a couple hundred homes, nice big lots, bring in all the utilities, amenities, roads, and you'd lose the feel of the forest, and it would not really stay the beautiful place that Pinetop is, the jewel that it is up there above Show Low. So my thought is we have tried to court and work, we being the Lions Foundation, our partners, people that understand land management, like the Coate family, and the people that our partner is looking to acquire the land from him. What is the use of theirs? And so I'm not in favor of low density, and so that's why we, together with our partners and the other people who are on the property, like Camp Grace, we successfully went and said we'd like to make it what was it? Low?
Yeah, it's commercial.
Commercial,
yeah,
yes.
Commercial, but it's not for like big boxes and so on. It's for smaller things. My idea is to do something that attracts people to come through Show Low into Pinetop and enjoy the amenities and look at the forest and have the rim trail and be able to look down the rim and see the beautiful space below. And how can you do that? So we are trying to think of it. What would we love to see 20 years from now? And because there will be commercial development where there aren't trees, and there will be buildings put up and so on, but will it be attractive? Will it fit the right look and feel that everybody wants within Pinetop? So that's what I'm thinking. I'd love to see, rather than urban planning, I'd like to see a beautiful, quiet community that still has the amenities and the trees and the rim trail, and you get a different feel when you come through Show Low, and as you come up into Lakeside, where you have the lakes and you have the forest, you will still have that feel. I'd love to maintain that. That's important to me.
This was the second segment of the Lions Foundation talks about the land use map here in the town of Pinetop-Lakeside. Third edition is up already, so make sure you check that out. I'm Rob Hefner. This is Talk of the Town.